We're going straight into a kissing. How are we
Yeah.
getting on? We are Jimmy-less tonight. Jimmy is off learning how to drive. Last week, Gary missed out because he had one of those things called a wedding anniversary. And then at the weekend, we were at Dino's stag do. So love was in the air the week of the Premier League season also. So I would call that win-win-win. Good weekend. In terms of the app, I have a lovely little update for y'all. Further testing going on. We're still in the woods with the testing. So little final tweaks, little final changes, little bits and pieces. So be expecting it on the App Store very, very, very soon. But first and foremost, what we're looking at tonight, we're second week into the Premier League season. I think there were some great insights from the weekend. And then obviously we've only got a couple of days left in the transfer window. So I suppose the easiest place to start is at the weekend matches. Myself and Jimmy had our predictions. Gary put up his predictions over the weekend. Like, it's very hard to judge at the moment, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, look, after 2 weeks in, has anyone really settled down? Probably not. I mean, look, my Spurs 5th prediction looks, if you want to close the book now, I win. But we're 2 weeks in. We're 2 weeks in, so you can't. Yeah. So look, nobody's jumping off or on bandwagons at all.
Well, there's a couple of bandwagons I'm very much on.
From a fantasy perspective. So at a league level, there's no bandwagons. At a fantasy perspective, there's a couple of lads I like the look of. And I mean, if we want to start with Man City Spurs, we can start there. I mean,
I think that's a good place to start. So I kind of said off camera just before we jumped into this that Spurs are Pep's kryptonite. Pep has been on the losing side, 2-0 down at halftime, 8 times in his history in the Premier League, 4 times of that to Spurs. He has lost to Spurs more times than any other team, which kind of goes against the Spursy tag, but they seem to be Pep's kryptonite. That's 3 managers now who've managed to turn him over at Spurs.
Well, they're the only team who have won 2 on the bounce at the Etihad Stadium in successive seasons. The only other team that have done that are United.
And another interesting stat is that Thomas Frank is, I think, one of only 4 managers to have beaten Pep with 2 different sides. So
I would assume the others. I'm going to assume one of the others is Jose. One of the others is going to be Carlo Ancelotti. So Thomas Frank is in very, very, very good company.
Very good company, yeah.
We want that. Like I was looking at that, right? And for me, what was fascinating, and the one for me, the player that stood out for me more than anybody else was João Palhinha. I think he could be sleeper signing of the season. Spurs in the first game went out with Bergvall and Archie Gray in the centre midfield. They went out with Bentancur and João Palhinha. I love João Palhinha. When he was at Fulham in his first season, he set a record for most tackles in a single season. Mm-hmm. And then in the second season, he turned around and went, hold my beer, and went and beat his own record for most tackles in a single Premier League season. Yeah. Look, the move to Bayern was just one of those right move, wrong time. He tried to move the year before. Deal didn't get closed because Fulham couldn't sign Andre as a replacement, who's actually since ended up at Wolves. And then by the time he got in, other guys had picked the pecking order. So him going to Spurs, I think, is potentially the sleeper signing of the season. That's for me. He was massive in that game.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. I think, when I made the prediction about Spurs being, 5th, a lot of it was down to that signing. He's proven Premier League quality. We've seen in the past central midfielders do really, really well when they're trying to push clubs on. We've seen it with Kante at Chelsea. When he moved from Leicester, we've seen it there at the first place. We've seen it with Makelele. We've seen it with Fabinho at Liverpool, etc. There's loads of different, Rodri at City, yeah. There's loads of different examples of it. So for Palhinha to come in, who's proven Premier League quality, into Spurs, that's worth possibly 6 or 7 points to them over the course of a season, minimum.
And from a Statr perspective and an FPL perspective now this season, the amount of defensive actions he gets through, and again, he's actually brilliant for those extra pickup points in the Statr model where we look at the tackles, we look at the interceptions, and defensive midfielders actually get rewarded. He's an asset, but also over in the FPL where they've increased the points holds for defensive attribution. So, João Palhinha, I think, is an absolute sleeper cell this season.
I'd have to.
And Richarlison.
Well, let's see what happens in the next couple of days with the transfer window, because if Spurs are in for a forward, and then Solanke still has to come back. I actually think Richarlison is one of those players where you could jump on the bandwagon very, very quick and then realize that he's probably not going to do the business for you. Similar to a lot of the West Ham team, particularly after the result.
We'll get. I think that's the next game we'll look at. We'll get there in a second.
Well, I think
they are not blowing bubbles over in fucking West Ham at the minute.
No. I think for me though, I mean, you've got to keep an eye on what Spurs do over the next 3 or 4 weeks before you decide who you back there between Solanke and Richarlison.
Sure.
And if Savinho comes from City, which we'll talk about when we get around to a transfer piece, there could be a bit of movement there as well. So
I think so.
From a fantasy,
interesting.
Yeah, keep your powder dry on that from a fantasy perspective. For me, Paulinho, yes.
I think there was two very interesting takeaways in that game for me. One is Thomas Frank, what he's been able to do and go into Spurs already in terms of that 2 matches, 2 separate game plans. All the reports coming out from the players are, we love how he's basically adapting the tactics game to game in order to help them win matches, which is huge. And then on the flip side, it already looks like James Trafford maybe too much too soon at Man City. That mistake was
criminal,
amateur hour for a start, but also hugely crushing when there is a 6'5" ghost of Donnarumma lurking in a hallway. It's just, that can't be good for what is he, 21, 22, which a young goalkeeper's confidence.
Young goalkeeper, yeah.
For a young goalkeeper, that can't be very good for your confidence. But Thomas Frank factor at Spurs, I think you might be on. I hate saying it. I think you might be onto something with your Spurs top 6 prediction now. Your Everton prediction can still go in the bin. That's the worst call I've ever seen from anybody ever. But the Spurs call is starting to look like that carries some water. So yeah, and also come here. That was the youngest side second youngest side Pep has ever put out in a Premier League game, and I'm fairly certain the last one was like during COVID in a semi-protest. Like it's a young side. That City side are not the same side that they were 2 years ago. I think
you look at that City side, and the only player that you would fear is the big Norwegian lad up front, Haaland. He's the only one where you kind of look at it and go, oh, I'm actually worried about this lad. Everybody else, yes, there's quality there, but City always had these teams where there was 3 or 4 players that you genuinely worried about. De Bruyne was there, Aguero was there, David Silva was there, even Bernardo Silva on his day. A lot of them are not past it, but not as effective as they have been. And you've brought in Cherky, who looked good on the first weekend, didn't do much against Tottenham.
Reinders, yeah,
looks good, but very indisciplined.
Yeah, Reinders looks good, but again, you've put him up against Paulinho, and he's been found wanting. Savinho didn't play. He might be on his way out. Doku played, didn't look particularly great.
I'm not a big Doku fan. I don't see it.
I don't see it either.
I don't see it either, yeah. I think it's maybe data numbers in terms of like...
He's exciting at times, but if you're away with the Pep system, you're on such a rotation. And look at what it did to Jack Grealish's career. His first weekend at Everton, it was almost like this weight was lifted off his shoulders and he could play football again. Whereas playing as a winger in a Pep team for the last few years, it's like, oh, if I misplace one pass, I don't play next week. And that has to have a knock-on effect to your confidence.
But I don't see a difference between Doku and Adama Traore. I don't see
Oh, that's a meaty call. But yeah, no, I get the point. Lots of running, very little end product.
Lots of running, lots of power, very little end product.
I would agree with that.
I don't see what like Traore couldn't do in that City team that Doku does.
Is there a risk that because of how well they beat Wolves in the first game, were we overestimating how bad that Wolves team actually are, given the performance, or are we saying that Spurs actually look good? Like there's this balance of power with this.
It's a tough one. I mean,
it could be true.
It could be. Well, I watched the highlights of Man City Wolves, and Wolves could have gotten 2 or 3 against City.
Sure.
They did like as bad as Wolves were, they could have gotten 2 or 3 against them. I don't think this City team has the quality of that, or the belief or the mettle that previous City teams have. They actually look, even as good as Reinders looks in the middle, without Rodri, they looked very, very soft.
Yeah.
Again, you go back to previous teams. Fernandinho was in there previously. Kovacic last year was immense for them in the second half of the season. If Rodri comes back to the same level he has been, then they get that back. They get that steeliness back in the middle. Great, and for fantasy, he's going to be an absolute asset.
Sure.
The question is, does he come back to the same level he did after such a serious knee injury? I don't know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, look, do I think City will finish top 4? Yeah, and it's probably because they'll probably scrape it. And
I think that's fair. I think that's fair. Yeah, do you know what they are?
Yeah, I think
of course, they have.
There's a gulf in class between those top 4 and everybody else.
And Foden is sure bound to hit form at some point. But I think we'll say, watch this space with Thomas Frank Spurs. They're probably the most fascinating team to see in the Premier League at the moment. From the most fascinating for good reasons to the most fascinating for bad reasons. The fuck has happened at West Ham? Chelsea look like the real deal, but West Ham look like the wheels have well and truly fell off their bus. That was shocking. I was down at Dean's Stag, right? And I was sitting there with a Chelsea fan, and I went, West Ham, this is a game where West Ham lock it in, break it down, frustrate them. And I was taking the piss. I was like, right, if West Ham win or draw, you get me a shot. If Chelsea win at halftime, he just walked over and was like, I'll have my shot now. And I was like, no, there you go. Game over, done, bubble burst. They were piss poor.
Yeah, no, I mean, even if you look at their keeper, wasn't their keeper the Leicester sub keeper for
Mads Hermansen? So he was Leicester's first choice keeper for most of last season until he got an injury.
Yeah.
And West Ham have gone and tried to buy another keeper this week. So that smells Areola on the way out. It's also a case of we're not confident in the goalkeepers that we have, that they're looking at signing your man John Victor, the Palmeiras or Fluminense keeper that was in the Club World Cup 29. He's Brazil's third choice behind Alisson and Ederson. So he's all right. And for a price of under 10 million.
Yeah, but I think West Ham up there.
That doesn't fix their problems, though. That don't fix their problems.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's just gone from bad to worse for those boys. Absolutely hockeyed at the weekend by Chelsea, knocked out of the Carabao Cup last night by Wolves, who are, as I say, we said it, they're not in a great position themselves. And then for Jared Bowen to start having a go at fans after the game, I don't know whether you've seen this or not.
I've seen it.
Yeah, and he's since come out on Instagram to apologise. But when your club captain is doing things like that, there's something inherently wrong. Something's going on there that just doesn't look right. They have enough. Look, West Ham have quality in that team. Bowen is a quality player. Paqueta is a quality player. Do you know, Areola as a goalkeeper is solid. I know they're looking at this new lad, Victor's from Palmeiras, fair enough, but he's decent. Souček, we've spoken about him in the lead up to the league. He's from a
There's players in that squad.
There's players in that squad, and there's players in that squad that should be getting West Ham finishing either side of mid-table, whether it's top half or bottom half, but they should be finishing between 9th and 13th.
I mean, it was only fucking year and a half when they won the freaking Conference League, and they have such a drop off in quality. It's just.
I see three issues at West Ham. The first one being Graham Potter. I personally don't rate him that highly as a manager. I think he's one of those academic managers, is what I'd call it. The student of the game more so than the actual artist of the game, maybe is what you'd call it. He was all right with Brighton, but Chris Hughton had put in the groundwork, and De Zerbi and Hertzler have actually kind of brought the team on further. So Graham Potter, I feel, from what I can see now, having seen the jobs he's done since Brighton, he kind of took the groundwork that was there, stabilized it, and I don't think he's up to much. I think West Ham will sack him. They'll pick a manager who suits. This seems to be it, and because the other problem is the ownership. Every time they have a manager that suits them, they get bored with their toy, and they go, we want to be more expansive, we want to be prettier, we want this, we want that. And then they sack him, they hire someone like a Lopetegui, and then it's par for the course and repeat the same fucking cycle. And it was David Moyes twice last time. This time it's Graham Potter. He'll be on the boat, and then someone else Moyes-esque who will be a defence first. And my other problem with West Ham is their fans getting up and leaving the stadium 30 minutes in. Fucking back your team. That is spoiled brat syndrome. You're not a big team. That is spoiled brat syndrome. You're not a big club. You're not Real Madrid 3-0 down to Levante 20 minutes in. If Real Madrid fans did that 20 minutes in, there'd still be issues with that. Support your club. I think that club is a toxic plastic case that's in trouble.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. Look, we've all sat in stands and watched our teams get pummeled.
Yes.
It's happened. It's happened. And not just across football, but across multiple sports, I'd say. You don't... like whatever about leaving 10 minutes before the end or something like that to beat the traffic, I could nearly forgive that. I did it at Oasis. But you don't walk out 20, 25 minutes in. No. It's...
And then on the Chelsea side, there's something brewing there, isn't there? This Club World Cup seems to give them a bit of momentum. My issue with Chelsea will be the second half of the season. It'll be, can they continue this momentum, or are they just... There's a piece for me where, because they started their pre-season with the Club World Cup earlier than everybody else, they're at October fitness levels now, where the season's in full flow.
Yeah.
But Chelsea last year dropped off after Christmas, so I'd be very interested in seeing where Chelsea are come Christmas this year. But right now they look the real deal. João Pedro looks interesting. Cole Palmer looks like he's kind of gone off the boil a little bit. The same Cole Palmer from the end of last year. He is, for me, the ultimate FPL trap. He's the ultimate Statr trap. He's the guy that you've kept. Gary, you had him last year. You know,
I had him.
You kept him in the team week in, week out, going, surely he's back next week.
It's the importance of, like, I mean, let's talk about Chelsea for a bit. I think a lot of what's going to happen with them depends on how long Palmer is out for, because obviously he missed the game against West Ham. Now they have quality in there that can cover, and that's fine. But he is the main man in that team. He makes them tick. I would, from a fantasy perspective, I would be very, very careful with jumping on the Chelsea bandwagon just yet. They absolutely hammered a very, very bad West Ham team for all the reasons we've just spoken about. They should have lost against Palace in the first game of the season.
Sure,
you know, and Palace, who are going through all of the crap that they're going through themselves at the moment, which we've spoken about as well. You know, they haven't had the best build-up in pre-season. They haven't been able to buy the players they want because of all the European stuff. And yet they still go out, albeit with FC still in the team before he made his move, and should have beaten Chelsea at Chelsea. So I think you'll see is the first 3 games after the international break will tell you whether or not Chelsea, outside of your João Pedro, Enzo Fernandez, and Cole Palmer, if they're worth investing in on a fantasy perspective. Those 3 are going to back anyway because they're going to play and they're going to get you points. Outside of that, let's see what happens after the international break.
The other one's Cucurella. The amount of work he's getting through at the back right now and has done for a while now. I don't know what happened there, but it seemed to kind of just click for him at some point.
It clicked from the second half of last season. It clicked.
Yeah, and he's kind of continued that vein of form. He's interesting. For me, João Pedro is if I'm playing any form of fantasy football game right now, I'm looking at João Pedro and go, okay, he's clearly now he's now their number 9 and Delap is the number 2. And I think that's pretty much set in stone as of now. So watch this space on Chelsea. I'm not going to go through every game because there's a couple of focus ones, right? Some of them are a pile of meh. The ones I want to look at are Arsenal, Leeds. I want to look at Everton, Brighton. I want to look at Fulham, United, and I want to obviously talk about Newcastle, Liverpool. So I think we'll just breeze through Everton, Brighton there. Brighton are 1 point in 2 games from 2 games they would have expected to be having 6 points, 4 to 6 points right now. But there's always that factor of new stadium. But fuck me sideways. a free Jack Grealish is an interesting Jack Grealish. And did you all see the post he put out after the game?
No,
I just said no.
Fascinating. And he mentioned it in his post-match interview. Kind of like he was very complimentary to Man City, but there was two very clear stabs. So it was like, obviously I won the treble, a fantastic club. It was great to get such a big club and part of something great and to work with a manager like Pep, blah, blah, blah. But it's also wonderful to feel like I can enjoy my football again and feel free to be who I am. Yeah. And you can see it, 2 assists, and they were both great assists. Like,
no, Everton were fucking really good. I think that if Jack Grealish plays like that for the rest of the season, and Everton in general, like they mid-table anyway. I'm going to say mid-table. I mean, like between maybe 11th and 9th.
Moyes is guaranteed to keep any Premier League team safe. I think that's
yeah.
Having a player with that. Everton, what they were missing last year was someone with that bit of sparkle, like someone that could create. Now they have a creator, and he's also, I think he is a throwback to what we would have had in the 90s and early 2000s of that maverick. Here, just give me the ball. I'm just go do some things. And he's going to have days where he's walking around the pitch sulking, scratching his nads and not in the form for it.
Yeah.
And that's what you're going to get with a player like that. But
you're spot on. You're spot on. Look, Grealish for me is the most naturally gifted English footballer since Paul Gascoigne. And if you're looking for don't talk about that.
Whispered hushes in these corridors.
Whispered hushes. But he, like, I mean, it's a bloody good comparison to Gascoigne. To be fair, I mean,
he also referenced him in his signing.
Well, I'm not surprised. I mean, if you were to go back and look at Gascoigne's career, where he went from Newcastle to Spurs to Lazio, it was the move to Lazio was meant to be the big thing, the big move, similar to Grealish's move to City, and it just went wrong.
Yeah,
in a different way for Gascoigne, fair enough, but it went wrong, and so it did for Grealish after 1 year at City. Gascoigne went back and played for Rangers and absolutely tore it up. Which, is Grealish going to do that at Everton? Well, the signs are that he's going to do that in certain games. As you say, he could be walking around throwing his arms up in the air going, what the hell is going on here for certain games? Again, very Gascoigne-esque.
Yeah.
But,
it's also that I'm better than everybody else on this pitch.
Well, you see, I think this might be the difference because someone like Moyes will have the ability to break that out of him. Do you know what I mean? I think someone like Moyes won't be afraid to turn around, and pull him back down to earth if that's needed, and it probably will be.
I think David Moyes being Scottish. I think David Moyes also kind of getting the Jack Grealish archetype of player, like who likes his pints and likes having a bit of a party. I think that he's going to be one of those players where he has a conversation. Look, Monday, Tuesday, go out, have your good time. As long as you're good, as long as you were good to go on a Saturday, the match is over. Fuck off down to Birmingham, go for a party, go for your night out.
Yeah.
That's all good, well and good. But we're going to control your nights out. Do it after a game, not leading into a game. And as long as you can promise me you are good to go on a Saturday, then we're good to go on a Saturday. And I think there's certain managers, there's certain tiers of teams, right? A player like Grealish who has that, and Rashford is very in the same mold. Barcelona is not going to work out for him. I'll tell you this now. He's going to end up. He's already been hooked at halftime. Like, I think there's certain players where, like Rashford at a Spurs, makes perfect sense.
Makes sense. Yeah.
In the sense of, I can be free there. The elite clubs, there's standards. You are not doing this. Whereas there's certain David Moyes can have a conversation with a Jack Grealish. You were too good to be at this club. If you had the professionalism of this guy over here who's not as good as you, that's why you're not at Man City anymore. But you're so much better than, let me use an example of Ndiaye. Ndiaye could be the perennial professional, but hasn't got what Grealish has in terms of ability. So one guy is 6 a.m. waking up, going for his massages, doing the ice baths. Jack Grealish is licking off the end of a bottle of vodka and strolling into training, and away we go. he's getting dried out in a sauna for half of the day of training. But I'll be ready Saturday, don't you worry. And I think that's going to be Jack Grealish's story this year.
Yeah.
And watch that space for Marcus Rashford next year when Barcelona do not make that an obligation to buy, and he ends up at some rando mid-pack secondary rate team. Not to say that they're not good teams, but they're just not that top 10.
Yeah.
Moving on, Everton, Jack Grealish, well done. Fuck it, Arsenal 5-0 Leeds. Dermot, enjoy your Premier League stadium tour, bud.
Arsenal really look at the real deal. I know that the second goal for Goikers is a penalty, but to get 2-0, what's that he's got?
2-2.
2-2. Yeah. At Saka. Can we talk about for a second about what lunatic decided to triple captain Julian Timber?
5 people triple. Can we make this like an ongoing segment? Because last week you had 3 psychopaths who captained the Sunderland centre-back. You had 5 mental cases this weekend who triple captained Jurrien Timber. Didn't even play last week. What the hell?
Yeah. The only thing I can assume is that one of their friends got a hold of their phone and decided to sabotage their team and then get them record points or something. Because there's no way any sane human would have done that contest.
Here, let me get the left back there who didn't play last week.
Yeah.
Psychotic.
But back to the real football. Arsenal are really looking they're looking the real deal, as we all kind of expected. It's just kind of about how they do after Christmas, really. But as much shit as we like to give Arteta, and you like to give him a lot of shit, and so do I, John Devil. That's how he's not it. I don't know. He seems to be proving us wrong.
He won't. They won't.
It's
that's the hill I will die on. Under Mikel Arteta, Arsenal won't win anything.
Yeah.
If they replace him with Diego Simeone, then we can all be very, very worried. Odegaard looks back to himself. Saka, 2 very unfortunate injuries. I think Saka's going to miss up until the other side of the international break.
Yeah.
Odegaard, I think, is okay. Gyökeres is third choice in line for penalties there. So anybody who's looking at drafting, anybody who's looking at players to pick up, do not be blinded by the fact that Gyökeres took a penalty. He has a great record from him in Portugal. A third of his goals last season were pens. Saka is Arsenal's star boy. Saka will be taking the penalties if he's on the pitch. Do not get blinded by that. Don't get blinded by the Gyökeres set being on the pens.
No,
it won't be him.
And don't get blinded. Don't get blinded by Gyökeres in general, because again, his first goal, he beat 3 players in the box, but against a better defending team than Leeds, and Leeds were very poor at that stage. Against a better defending team, that ball's been taken off his foot twice in that passage of play.
I expected more from Leeds in terms of.
Well, yeah, I expected more from them as well. I expected a bit more from them as well. I think the first goal killed them, and again, it's from set piece. So Declan Rice, get on that. Absolutely get on that, because there's assists galore there, because they're fantastic at set piece. That killed them.
More goals from set pieces than any team in Europe over the last since the start of last season.
Consistently. Yeah. But if Leeds score early on, Raya made a great save from their centre half, whose name escapes me, from a corner, ironically enough. If he doesn't make that save and Leeds go 1-0 up, that's
now Leeds have something to hold on for.
Do Arsenal have the mettle to come back? Maybe against the Leeds, possibly, but you do that against I don't know if you do that against Everton, just because we've been talking about them. Maybe not.
I get that one. I think there is an element of Fulham 1-0 up against Bristol in the Carabao Cup. Yay! Do you know what? Can we move on really quick, because I've had enough of talking about Arsenal. Dean, hi, Dean. How are you? I told y'all Josh King one to look out for. Over in our sister side, he's only 4.5 points. He's a money bag saver. He's going to start. Andres Pereira is now been sold to Palmeiras today for 10 million. He is now Fulham is number 10. End of discussion. He was brilliant against United again the other day. His first 2 Premier League games, 2 solid oppositions. Like 19 second Premier League game. Here's Bruno Fernandes and Casemiro, and he goes, "Yeah, it's fine." And I know he didn't score. It was Emil Smith-Rowe off the bench. And here's the interesting stat for you: 19 goals from subs since the start of last year. No other club in the Premier League is close to what Fulham can do off the bench. 13 is the next nearest. So 6 goals clear in terms of contributing goals that have made the difference between draws to wins and losses to draws from substitutes in the last season and a bit. That screams a team that knows, like, they're not the best team, granted, right? But they've 2 players for every position, and they know if it's not me, it's him. And it's a very clear line of sight. So Emil Smith-Rowe came on and scored. So he's going to go knock on Marco Silva's door now today and go, "Hey, boss. So am I getting the child's position back? Great." You know what I mean? Whereas United, there's this bang of Bruno has to stay on the pitch, even though he was muck.
Mm-hmm. United's current system doesn't really suit Bruno, but like you said, John, it's kind of like, Bruno has to start. He has to start every single game. Because
like a hierarchy kind of thing. It's like there's Gallo plays, Casemiro plays, Bruno plays, and like Bruno's having a bad game. He missed the penalty. We talk like the decision on the penalty. Was it a penalty? Was it not? I think it was. I know plenty of people who said it's not.
I think it was. Yeah,
I think it was.
Yeah.
In the today's game, that's a penalty.
In the modern game, you have to think of it that way. Yeah, I didn't really like the way he was going on about the ref afterwards. You know,
so there's 2 sides of it.
That's why he blew it over the ball. I mean, you're a professional footballer. Like, come on, like.
I actually heard a very interesting take on this one. It was actually Ben Foster's podcast, and he was like, "Look, Bruno came out in his press conference and said that didn't affect him in terms of penalty. He just took a really bad fucking pen." But one of the lads on that podcast turned around and was like, "Yeah, but just from a human level, if you bump into someone in the street, you just go, 'Oops, sorry,' and that would have been the end of it."
Yeah,
this is my issue I have with the referees in general. It's this over-inflated sense of self where it's like, well, you get out of my way. I'm the one that runs the show here. It becomes a show about, and you could see some of the decisions that referee made in that game, both sides, and you'd be sitting there scratching your head at times, going, "This makes no sense. What are you doing?" It's like the referee showcase, and then such a minor thing, bump into Bruno Fernandes, just turn around and be like, "Oops, sorry about that, mate." Everybody gets about their day, and then it doesn't become a thing.
I don't know. Again, like, it's just such a silly thing on both sides. I mean, you don't know about the referee either. He could have been listening to one of his assistants in his ear or something like that. And I mean, it's not like you're on a football pitch. I just don't think it's necessary to have to be like, just say sorry and move on. It's like, no, just.
Yeah,
I really think Bruno's in wrong there. I think it's a bad look.
Even Bruno Fernandes' general reputation, I'm surprised he didn't go down in the box under that contact.
Yeah, I was about to say, for a man who's got such a reputation of being such a whingebag, I think that
Gary caught that one.
That one tickled. I won't lie. That one tickled.
Yeah, but moving on from like Bruno and like the ref and whatever like that, there was
United are in trouble.
Like Casemiro is obviously like not it, but he starts with Bruno. That's the match at the moment that Aaron's going with. And Bruno thought was okay. Cunha was okay. Mount actually was the best on the pitch. I don't know why he came off. It's just another one of these cases that like the manager lost us the game as much as the players did. I don't know why Mount came off. Euro came off. Arguably, he's probably on the team sheet before Bruno is every game these days. I don't know why he came off. Ahmed Diallo. And then we brought on, Harry Maguire. Sesko obviously we're going to bring on, but like Harry Maguire, Ugarte, he's a lot to be desired. Dallo.
There's a few things I would break down here, right? I would be saying
Casemiro
on the bench. They know they want Casemiro gone. Just play Ugarte. Just do it. Let him play his way into form. I know it's probably going to be rough and ready for a couple of weeks, but just let himself play his way into form. Harry Maguire coming on when he did that was for an element of set pieces. Yes, shit.
Yeah.
The thing that fucking pissed me off more than anything else was there was this point where United scored the goal, an own goal off the back of Rodrigo Muniz, and they celebrated in the corner like they were winning a Champions League semi-final. And I watched that and went, that's not the United team I remember. That team 5 years ago against Fulham away, they walk back to the centre circle and go,
and they go again.
And we go again.
Yeah.
Not going 1-0 up from an own goal and going, great.
Yeah. But I think a lot of that has to come down to the attitude of the manager. I think, like, I look, I've sat here and I've slated United, and I know I'm a Liverpool fan, and people will think that it's easy for the Liverpool fan to have a go at United. But park that just for a second. I think there's something significantly wrong at United. Right? They've gone out and they've spent first things first. They've gone out and spent nearly 200 million on this brand new forward line that was meant to be the savior. 2 games in, they've scored 1 goal, and it was an own goal. Right? Mm-hmm. As good as Mbeumo and Cunha have looked in patches in their first 2 games, have they put the ball?
When Cunha gets off the mark, though, when Cunha gets off the mark, it's
when. But hang on. 60 million, 65 million they paid for him to get off the mark. He hasn't done it yet. He hasn't done it yet. Tesco, they've paid whatever they've paid to Leipzig, and he has sat on the bench. And Mbeumo has looked decent, and in fits and starts with Brentford last year, he went through patches where he might go 2 or 3 games without scoring. He has looked the most likely. He was very unlucky against Arsenal in the first game. But he still hasn't done it. So this shiny new forward line that everyone was saying is the savior is not working. Right? There's a big problem with Kobe Manu in that dressing room as well. Why he's not playing when you're right, Casemiro needs to go. Manu, all he wants to do is play football, and he's good enough to do it.
Yep.
And do you want the fucking thing that's so fucking irritating that we've done year after year? What's going to happen now is Bruno's going to say, I have no space for Manu on my team, or you're not going to get a lot of minutes. If you want to leave, do get 50 million for him or whatever. Manu's going to leave, and in fucking 6 months' time or a year's time, Amarim's going to get sacked, and now we don't have Manu or Amarim. It's like you look at the likes of Scott McTominay.
Let me ask you a question. Well, Scott McTominay had to go. He had been there years, and it just.
But he was in that shit team. He was still one of our best players.
It was time, though. It was like the Jesse Lingard thing of Jesse Lingard did fuck all after he left, but the year he went to West Ham, he was nearly player of the season that year. That's why they brought him back. I think there's a case in point of sometimes Man United's too big for players. My question is, looking back in hindsight, would you have taken the 100 mil for Bruno at the start from the Saudis in summer? I would have said yes.
No, because we would have fucking wasted it on 1 or 2 players who will not be as good as Bruno, and that's a fact. That's an absolute fact.
Fair. That's
fair. See, now my biggest problem here is there's so much chatter about the midfield, right? I don't know. There's been the goalkeeper. Sorry, until that problem is fixed, everything else is fucked. That goalkeeper behind there, bless him. For his sake, take him out. Let him go. Get rid of. Get gone. He's a League One goalkeeper. He's a second choice. He's Danny Ward. Do you know what I mean? That's his level, and that's. I'm not being cruel, but
no,
every corner that went in the box, United had to have every player in the box and no out ball to try and protect that goalkeeper. 13 crosses came in, and he dealt with 1. That screams straight away. What's going to happen is if I'm playing United next week, I'm talking to my fullbacks, I'm talking to my wingers, and going, get it in the 6-yard box. Just get it. Every ball that we fucking get, you put it in the 6-yard box because he ain't getting it. End of discussion. And a better team than Fulham, they're going in a halftime 3-0 up. And from an outfielder's perspective, now your defense subconsciously is 5 yards further back, or they're not comfortable taking a ball out from the goalkeeper because there's that sense of if I make a small error here, we're screwed, which means you're then trying to play that bit safer in front of the thing, which also means now your midfield is starting 5 yards further back. But when your forward line has to stay up, that becomes a mismatch. So people are talking about the midfield, and I respect that. I do need another energetic midfielder. But look what happened with teams over the last even couple of years. Crystal Palace, when they got Henderson into the team, have massively improved while not changing the outfield. Liverpool, when they brought in Alisson, went from a to oh shit, we're here now. Like, you can look at all of there's so many examples of teams that by just getting the goalkeeper right, that breeds confidence in your back line, puts your team 5-10 yards further upfield, and mitigates the problems. I've played in terrible football teams before. Like, I'm a bad footballer. Come here, like, we're all shit footballers. Like, let's be honest here. Like, none of us are ever top table fucking ballers. But I played in a team before where our goalkeeper was so bad that I got to the point where one day the manager went and goals. And like, when that's how bad a goalkeeper is, like, the rest of us automatically go into that protective mode of every time there's a corner, every time there's a free kick, every time there is a set piece, it's how many people can we get around? And look at the goal. Look at the goal. Dallo misplaces a pass. Look at Delict's positioning. He's going across to protect the front post rather than standing on the 6-yard box. And if he was where he should be, ball up and away, but he's busy protecting the near post because Bindier has made a nuts of it so many times. So everybody's got to step up. Get a competent goalkeeper, and I think that minimises an awful lot of the other problems.
Yeah, no. Hopefully we get that young fella from Antwerp.
He can't be as bad, right? Don't know much about him, but he can't be as bad.
Yeah, I think he's like 23 years old or something. I think he's struggling to get game time. I think it looks like it's almost. The rumors seem to be pretty strong around the past couple of days.
He's got a throw, by the way.
Yeah.
Look at the clips of his throws. Fuck, they're a weapon in themselves. No, Gary. Well, seriously.
Hopefully they'll change the idea of like passing out from the back, like, because I don't. This whole business of passing out from the back, like, I hate it so much because it puts our defenders on so much pressure, and I think like other teams have got to figure it out now. And then passing the ball back to Onana, and my heart just sinks. Like, getting a player like your man from Antwerp who's got a massive throw might be the way forward, just to change it up, like, and change the whole idea of passing from the back.
So are we saying from a fantasy perspective, United right now are assetless?
Yes.
At
least until after the international break.
Yeah. I mean, Bruno missed a penalty the weekend. I don't know who you possibly bring in instead of him. I don't know how you bring him from United currently.
No.
For me, Cunha, but Fulham, go get yourself a slice of Josh King. Oh, baby. Now, I suppose let's talk about the Alexander Isak derby. Dean, I know you've got to bounce, so I'm going to have a lovely time talking to Gary while he tries to not dream himself talking about the wildest game of football you're probably going to see up this season in Gameweek.
But Dean's just running, so he doesn't have to listen to me go on about Liverpool.
Respectfully, I understand it.
Okay.
No, look, the Alexander Isak derby at the weekend, a more crazy game of football. It was ridiculous. For the first half, Newcastle pummeled Liverpool, and then Anthony Gordon did what he did. I know that was at 1-0, but still.
English tackle.
Yeah, look, it's a forwards tackle. I don't think there was any malicious.
I think I'm kind of like it's a strong yellow but a weak red. That would be my personal.
No. It's a red all day long. It is a red all day long. He's come from too far behind. He's raked down the back of.
Oh no, don't get me wrong. Fully understand both arguments.
Yeah.
But
I don't think
personally heavy red or heavy.
No.
Very heavy yellow, maybe a bit of a light in terms of red.
Well, look, no, I do think it's a red every day of the week, but there was no malice in it. Like, he's not gone in to try and do Van Dijk.
No.
But he's gone in high. He's left his mark. He had to go. I think, like, there's a couple of outtakes for when you're looking at it from fantasy side of things. There's a couple of outtakes for me. The first one is Gravenberch, who was immense, absolutely immense. I don't think you're going to get goals out of him every week. And, albeit it was a very, very good finish in 25 yards at the weekend. He's not going to do that every week, but he will play because he offers you an awful lot of. He's solid, and he keeps that backline very, very solid. You
want to hear my hot take? You're not going to like it.
Go on.
Get words out of your teams. If you're an offensive,
this was my next point. This was.
For now.
No, I agree with you on this one.
He's not Prem ready.
Look, I think it'll just take a bit of time for him to warm up. I think 10 games in. Look, he is going to play. There's no two ways about it. He will play. They've shelled out all of the money that they've shelled out for him. They're not leaving him on the bench. I think it'll be very interesting to see what he's like against Arsenal, because that sort of team where Arsenal will want to go toe to toe with Liverpool because they can. So I wouldn't drop him this week. If you have him in your team, keep him this week. But after that, purely because there's a chance he can do something special, and I think he could do some damage this weekend. After that, though, you'd have to, if he doesn't, you have to consider it. If you don't have Szoboszlai in your team and you have an opportunity to pick him up, you do it. Because he was Trojan at the weekend. He played at right back. He was incredibly good.
Yeah, he was good. He was good.
And when he moved into midfield, when Conor Bradley came on, again, I mean, the vision to let that ball run after playing in a defensive mode for 80 minutes of a game, and then to let that to dummy the ball the way he so you get him. But Wirtz, you need to keep an eye on, because he might not be the savior that everyone thinks he is. I waxed lyrical about it.
Do you remember a conversation we had a few years ago, and I was explaining the late era of Mesut Ozil, the guy who assisted the assist?
Yeah,
I feel like there's a bit of Wirtz in that, but
there's a little bit of that.
Right now, I don't think he's there in terms of the Premier. That's not to say he's a bad player, but if I'm an FPL manager, that's a lot of points. Get him out. And if I was, if you're playing our model Statr, there's a part of me that goes bench. There's a part of me that goes utilize him as a trade option to get a guaranteed point hauler, because there's one player in that Liverpool team who, the more I see, the more I'm like, oh fuck, they've got a good one there, and that's your man Hugo Ekitike. I think of the forwards that have come into the Premier League this year, let's ignore her big Erling Braut Haaland, because he's just going to get the golden boot. But I think of the new strikers, of your Sesko, Gyökeres, Ekitike, if Liverpool don't get Isaac, he'll be the highest scorer of those three new signings. If they get Isaac, they're in trouble. He's in trouble from his minutes perspective, and that's going to hamper some. You don't need him. You don't need Isaac. Leave him at Newcastle. The Premier League is better for it.
No, look, if I
take him, obviously, you'd be mad.
I wouldn't actually.
Not now.
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't pay 110 million for him. I don't like his attitude. I don't like the way he's handled himself. If he comes in, I'm not gonna whinge about it. He's a 25 goal a season striker, and he will play. Ekitike then moves out to the left, which is where he played for it wasn't Wolfsburg. Who did they sign him from in Germany? I can't remember. Frankfurt, wasn't it?
Frankfurt, that's one, yes.
Yeah. So he moves out left. So I think that affects Gakpo more than anybody else.
Sure.
If Isaac doesn't come in, then you consider picking Gakpo up, because he'll play on that left side more than anything else. But
I think that's fair. And do you want? Would you like to? Before we wrap up, would you like to wax lyrical about that goal? Because I'm sure. Also, by the way, we have some good friends over in Goose.ie, Irish technology website. Our good friend Martin was actually at St. James's Park rocking a pair of the Meta Ray-Bans, so he has a stadium view goal of.
Yeah, check it out. Actually, it's really
check it out. It's a great clip.
But look, delighted for the excuse me, delighted for the kid. He's done really well at pre-season. I think Slot obviously rates him highly. For Slot to turn around and say to him at the end, and it was picked up by Sky Sports cameras, well done, go and enjoy it with the fans. He obviously does rate him, but wants to keep his feet on the ground, which I think is the right thing to do for a 16-year-old lad. You're not picking him up.
Really changed, because I've seen in the last week we've seen 16-year-old Rio get on the pitch there at Liverpool, and then earlier in the weekend against Leeds, 15-year-old Max Dowman.
Mm-hmm.
Like, are we at a point where the game is so unphysical where you can put in teenagers of that age? Like, I remember 16-year-old Wayne Rooney. 16-year-old Wayne Rooney was a full-grown ass man at that age. Whereas Max Dowman, all due respect, same with your man Rio.
Yeah, they look like
15, 16-year-olds.
Yeah, but you're right. You're right. The game has just become so less physical, less contact sport like that. You don't have a problem bringing in a 15 or 16-year-old where you know they're not going to get broken in half by a Tony Adams or Yap Stam or whatever.
Or later a Vidic or a Jamie
Carragher. Yeah, it's just not going to happen.
Carragher was a fucking hatchet, let's be honest.
He was a hatchet, man. He was. But yeah, delighted for him, delighted for the kid. Obviously, it means a lot to him. You're not picking him up in fantasy because he will spend more time on the bench than not.
It's over at Newcastle, very interesting as well. There's a lot of togetherness in that squad right now. It seems like it's a byproduct of this Isaac problem that the rest of the boys in the dressing room have gone, you know what? Fuck you.
Yeah. And I think, look, even if he does stay in, we'll see what happens in the week. I don't think he'll be back to the same levels as he has been. But let's see.
Cool. So that's all the fixtures from last week. I think I don't think we'll go through the transfers. I think there's too many moving parts that are going to happen in the next few days. But I think the highlight ones out for me are João Palhinha at Spurs. I would be looking at João Pedro, obviously, over Chelsea if you haven't got him. Yeah. If you're looking at Arsenal, who knows? They're pick whoever you want. They're on form right now. Everton, get yourself a slice of Jack Grealish. If you're looking for a sleeper cell who's going to save you points elsewhere and still pick up points, Josh King is an absolute sleeper agent, and Hugo Ekiteke looks like he is hip. So I think that is basically the summary of the day, right?
Absolutely. I think that's it, mate.
Cool. So basically, look, as ever, there's a bunch of content over on the site. Gary's going to have his week 3 previews, I think, before the weekend. I have a wrap of basically what I'm going to do every week is I'm going to do the 5 key takeaways from each game week. So I have my 5 key takeaways for game week 2. They're going up tonight. There's a whole rake of content over on StatrDraft.com, STATR draft.com. And as ever, do the whole likey, subscribey thing. Drop us comments, messages, pictures, all that good stuff. And on that note, Gary, I love you. Leave you. We will.
We'll catch you next week.
I think we're going to have a little chat about draft night.